Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving into what is arguably the ultimate existential clash in human history, the epic battle between destiny and our own free choice. I mean, are we really the authors of our own lives, or are we just following a script that was written long before we were even born? It's a super heavy question, but today we're going to break it all down. We're going to look at some deeply fascinating insights from our source material that clear up the confusion, and honestly, by the end of this, you might just see your own freedom in a completely new light. So get comfortable, focus in, and let's get started. All right, let's jump right into section 1, the classic destiny paradox, the illusion of choice. You know, this is that paralyzing dilemma that stumped philosophers, theologians, and let's be honest, probably a few of us just staring at the ceiling late at night, right? It's the kind of problem that if you don't look at it the right way, it can literally make you feel like everything you do is completely pointless. And the core of it is this massive question. If God already knows what I'm going to choose, how can I possibly be free? Just let that sink in for a second. It feels like a total trap, doesn't it? Like, if the script is finalized and known with absolute certainty, how in the world can the actor change their lines? It's a completely fair question. But, as we'll see, this whole trap actually relies on one very specific misunderstanding. Which brings us to section 2, knowing is not causing, breaking down the distinction. So the reason this paradox feels totally unsolvable is because we fall into this massive logical trap. We end up mashing two totally different concepts together as if they're exactly the same thing. So let's just split the problem right down the middle. On one side, we have knowing something, and on the other side, we have causing it. We have to get this absolutely crystal clear. Having foreknowledge of an event is fundamentally different from being the active force that produces that event. Knowing is observation. Causing is action. And honestly, blurring the lines between these two concepts is exactly what destroys our understanding of free will. To really ground this distinction, let's look at a pretty profound quote from the philosophical text, the Risale-i Nur. It simply says, "Divine determining is of the category of knowledge." Okay, this is a real game changer. What it's telling us is that destiny, or divine determining, is primarily about knowledge. It frames destiny not as this physical chain dragging you along through life, but simply as a category of total absolute awareness. It's about knowing the events rather than a mechanical force forcing those events to actually happen. Let's make this more concrete. In section 3, everyday analogies of destiny, teachers and meteorologists. Sometimes these high-level philosophical concepts really just need to be brought down to earth so they can actually click in our minds. So imagine a teacher who knows you really, really well. They've watched your habits all semester. The night before a big exam, the teacher predicts, you know what, this student is absolutely going to start studying at midnight. They make this prediction based on complete familiarity with your behavior. Well, midnight arrives, and you open the book. The prediction comes entirely true. Now, whose fault is that? Who is actually responsible for you opening that book? I mean, if you walked into class the next day and said, "Professor, you predicted it. You forced me," you'd literally be laughed out of the room. It just highlights the total absurdity of blaming the teacher for your late-night cramming. Yeah, she accurately predicted your behavior, but her knowledge of your habit didn't reach out and physically force your hands to open that textbook. You did that. Her knowledge was accurate, for sure, but her knowledge was absolutely not the cause. And this illustrates the exact same logic we see with a weather forecast. So the forecast says rain tomorrow. The next morning, predictably, it rains. But who do you blame? Think about it. Nobody storms the local weather station, furiously yelling at the meteorologist, "You people caused this!" The meteorologist knew it was going to rain, they predicted it accurately, but they obviously didn't produce the rain clouds. So that brings us to a really solid conclusion here. Knowing is not the same as producing. Now, obviously, God's knowledge isn't just some human prediction. The source material makes it totally clear that divine knowledge is complete and absolute. But, and this is absolutely crucial, the logical distinction still holds up. Even with total, complete knowledge, the mere act of knowing something does not create the event. Moving on to section 4, knowledge follows the known, the core principle. Okay, if you remember just one structural idea from this entire explainer, make it this one, because it completely flips the way we normally think about time and knowledge. The principle is, knowledge follows what is known. Let's really slow down and unpack what this means in simple terms. Your choice is known as the choice you freely make. God knows the choice because you, the human being, freely make it. You are not forced into the choice just because it's known. We almost always assume the knowledge comes first and forces the event to happen, but this principle tells us the exact opposite. The event itself, your free choice, is the reality, and the knowledge simply reflects that reality. The choice drives the knowledge. The knowledge doesn't drive the choice. And this brings us to Section 5, the robot and responsibility. Why free will matters. So why do we even care so much about defending free will? Well, think about it. If human beings had no freedom at all, if destiny was just this rigid script forcing our every move, then moral responsibility wouldn't make any sense whatsoever. Think about a robot. A robot simply follows its programming. When a robot opens a door, it's just executing a line of code. Because there's zero free choice, there's zero moral responsibility. Now compare that to us. Human beings possess free choice, and because we choose, we carry actual moral responsibility for our actions. You just cannot have responsibility without freedom.
I actually love this one phrase from the text, "What a morally admirable robot." It's kind of funny, but it perfectly highlights the total absurdity of a world without free will. When that robot opens the door for you, you don't applaud it for its kindness, right? You don't say, "Wow, what a morally admirable machine." It was literally programmed to do it. If a bad definition of destiny turns humans into program machines, then all of our good deeds, our bad deeds, our justice systems, and our ethics, they all become completely meaningless.
So let's quickly summarize this true relationship between our choices and destiny. Number 1, human beings choose. We are not robots. We have real agency. Number 2, because we choose, our actions carry real responsibility. Number 3, and this is the big one, destiny does not destroy freedom. The absolute knowledge of God exists in perfect harmony with our free will. But finally, a bad definition of destiny certainly can destroy freedom. If you define destiny as a forcing hand rather than total knowledge, well, you basically rob humanity of its agency.
Let's go ahead and lock this ultimate takeaway into our memory before we wrap up today. God knowing your choice is not the same as God forcing your choice. That right there is the bedrock of everything we've covered. Knowledge is not a cage. Understanding the difference between knowing and causing is the absolute key to preserving both the complete knowledge of destiny and the reality of human freedom.
Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. If destiny is simply the complete knowledge of your free choices, what will you choose to write into your destiny today? It kind of turns the whole concept on its head, doesn't it? You aren't playing out some forced script. Your choices are the very things being recorded in that ultimate knowledge. It's a pretty powerful reminder of your own agency. Thank you so much for joining me today. Keep asking those big questions, keep examining the logic, and I'll see you next time.